join us on stage. Brooke Saward.
Do it.
So, plan is to do a short, like a couple of questions, just to introduce Brooke to all of you. And whoop, did I turn it off? No, it's this one. Wrong pocket. Okay. So, your job is a dream job for a lot of people, right? Traveling around, wandering the world, and writing about it and get some money off it. But I'm sure that there are some very negative side of it. I'm not sure what exactly, but I'm sure that there is.
Yeah, I mean, probably the hardest part about traveling full-time is not feeling like you have a sense of community. That's something I really miss about living in one place and having your family and your friends around you. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm 27, I've been traveling the world for 7 years, I feel very lucky. And yeah, I probably wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Good, and at a certain point, like 2 years ago, you traveled 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
How come? How can you do that?
Well, that's the thing. So 7 years ago, I started my blog in 2012 in December, and I kind of just started it because I wanted a way to travel the world and eventually be able to do it for free and then be able to get paid. So I started doing it, and the more I traveled, the quicker I was gaining an audience, and that was leading to more jobs. That meant that I could travel longer, and then one day it led to being paid, and now it's this crazy huge industry where it's very lucrative. And yeah, I guess I kept traveling and traveling and traveling because it felt right. Like that's what I've always wanted to do, and it was a means to an end to do the blog, so I just kept going.
So what's the goal, to travel or to write a blog?
To travel. I do love sharing my life and my stories online. I feel like traveling solo as well and sharing it, I feel like I'm actually sharing my adventures with people, and then there's this, like, if anything, that's been the community that I have built for myself, because I'm constantly talking to readers or fans or whatever, and creating a community around myself, even though it's through the internet. That's what keeps me going.
There was also a hashtag on Instagram, Wow Solo, right?
Wow Solo, Wow Travels. Yeah, there's a few.
That people use when they travel solo. They basically would read your adventures on solo travels. Can you explain, please, how you do it? Isn't it scary?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a great point there. I feel like I personally feel more a sense of duty as well, encouraging especially young females to travel by themselves and have that confidence to go out and explore the world and not wait for other people like friends or family or the time that you're in a relationship and have a boyfriend, just to go out there and explore by yourself. I personally love traveling solo. It definitely was really nerve-wracking when I first started. I was 20 years old and still at university, so I remember that time fondly, but also I remember getting like 2 weeks into my trip in Europe, and I was just like, I want to go home. So there's definitely been times where I have felt very overwhelmed by it, but yeah, nowadays I probably prefer traveling solo because I get to do whatever I want. I wake up and sometimes I eat dessert for breakfast, or, you know, there's no one judging me.
Okay. Is there anybody who likes to travel solo in the audience? Okay. Does anybody know the feeling when you get like sad and anxious and very lonely when you're traveling solo?
Yeah, it's funny. It happens to all of us, and I usually find now it happens like 6 weeks into a trip. I'm about 6 weeks since I've been back to Australia. I just came from South Africa, and I haven't actually felt it yet. So maybe like the more that you do it, the longer. The more you get used to it, for sure.
That's good. And how much of your private life do you share on your blog and Instagram?
Yeah.
Do you think that's important to share in terms of like your private emotions or relationships or whatever you're going through? I know that you have some part of your house in Australia, but also it's more about Tell me about it, the private
Yeah,
one.
I mean, the reason why I started the blog was to share my travels and encourage people to travel, and especially solo and further to that, women. So I try and keep it related to that because that's my niche and that's what I feel is my purpose. But at the same time, I think it's really important to be relatable when you're an online personality. Like, it's more relatable for me to say, hey, I'm having a really crappy day and I don't want to be here, rather than just saying, like, looking at the world through rose-colored glasses and saying that everything's amazing when it's just not. So I think that's important, but at the same time, like, you don't want to overshare. So
Yeah, but where is the thin line? How do people
Yeah.
react when you say that you feel bad?
Definitely mixed reactions, but these days, like, it's all changed so much over 7 years, and now we have Instagram stories, so it's a lot easier to be yourself, and
Because
those,
it doesn't last too long.
it doesn't last too long, and those comments aren't public, so
Yeah.
not everyone sees who's writing back what.
Uh-huh.
But usually whenever I talk about real things like having anxiety or, I don't know, things that go wrong along the way, that's when I get the most engagement on stories, definitely. Yeah.
What's the worst comment that you got?
The worst comment, I get pretty bad ones. I don't know, like, people can be mean online, hey.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. When I started out, it's quite funny looking at how much it's evolved over 7 years. When I started out, like, the most iconic photo I ever had was in the Swiss Alps, and I was, like, twirling around in a dress, and I was facing away from the camera, and I had a hat on. And back then, 7 years ago, everyone was like, why do you always face away from the camera? Like, why don't you show your face? Because I'd always wanted it to be about traveling. And nowadays, it's so common to take photos where you're looking out and pensively looking at the view. So it's funny to see how that has changed so much over 7 years, like the acceptance of that, and how it's really moved from fashion bloggers who, they're selling things, to now people are more interested, or a lot more interested than they were 7 years ago, about experiences and buying experiences. So it's been really interesting to watch that evolution, and something that one day people were bagging me out for is now like a very common trend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and there's,
That's good.
nothing too wrong with my face, I hope.
Okay, brand.
Yeah.
We spoke about how important it is to show your authenticity, but also to have your colors, your filter, your logo and things. You behave like a small company, right?
Yeah.
Or probably you are a small company.
Yeah.
One woman show.
Yeah, a one-woman show. I think it's really important to find your niche and stick with that. At the end of the day, it's always going to come back to purpose and feeling like you have a purpose, and that's going to drive you further. But branding, identity, like website design, that is all so important in a very visual age that we live in now. So it's definitely something that I think is as important as what you're trying to sell people.
Can you define the moment when you realize that you need to have everything that you do, like branded in terms of the similar colors and the probably filters, right, that you use on Instagram?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Instagram was like a really big shift towards that. 7 years ago, there's been travel blogs around for 20 years or so, but back then it was like there weren't Lightroom presets, and everything wasn't kind of glamorized as it is today, which I think is also important, and I'm always trying to keep that in mind when posting stuff online, that it's not perfect and that there's more to travel beyond like the perfect Instagram photo.
Okay.
And that was a big focus for me this year, and one of the best trips I did this year was about 6 weeks ago in Pakistan. And the whole reason why I wanted to go was to show my audience to think outside the box and not believe everything you read, particularly in Western media, about countries being unsafe.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
But it's also, you showed some difficulties on the road. So that your travels are not always very shiny and luxury hotels, but something else.
Yeah, I mean, we had landslides the first day we arrived in Pakistan. There were so many things that were unsafe about that country, but it wasn't people, and I think that's what I was trying to convey to people, is just because the Western media is holding on to, it is a very troubled past in Pakistan.
Yeah.
but that's an outdated version of the reality of that country today.
Okay,
So
that's
that
cool.
was really cool to see and to show that and to be real about it. And pretty much every day something went wrong on that trip, but it made it so adventurous and so fun and exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yay.
Yes. Do we have mics? Sorry.
Hi, Brooke. I love the fact that you said that you relied on, I believe, your intuition when you didn't show your face. You wanted to make it about travel. I did basically a similar thing when I was running a blog. I did reviews of coffee shops in Belgrade through comic on Instagram, and I photographed it with my phone looking like this, and people told me, well, that's not Instagrammable, people won't like it. It wasn't true. You do your own thing and you pop out in the filter. I wanted to ask you, you built a successful business. How much you didn't have, I believe you didn't go to workshops and you were like, oh, this will work, this won't work, this will work. How much intuition is something you use and rely on in making business decisions?
Great question. Personally for me, so I went to university and studied political science, which kind of has nothing to do with what I'm doing today. But I fell into that trap of like, I need to go to university so that I have this piece of paper and my parents are going to be proud of me. My parents didn't really care, actually. They were like, my dad actually has business cards of my name and my website that he hands out to people. They're like super proud of everything that I'm doing. But I didn't really like train to do this. And I think the whole reason why it has worked is because it was always my passion to travel, and the blog was the means to the end. Like, all I wanted to do was travel the world, and to be able to do it in this way where it's like so exciting, I get to dictate where I'm going and what I'm doing in those countries is like amazing. But this job didn't really exist 7 years ago, and Instagram really pushed that and made that happen for me. So I think a little bit of naivety is in there, really great timing, and also just loving what I'm doing every day. Like, I feel like it's my purpose, it's driving me, and yeah. Great question though.
But if you would do a course for travel bloggers, what would you say? What's the most important part?
I think like Google is your friend. Just that's how I did it. Like building a website, I built my website. Learning everything that I know, I've Googled. So it's up to you. But personally, that was my approach.
Nice. Have one more, Mattia.
Hey, so I have a question about your thoughts of Tinder in travel, like effects on Tinder in travel for in recent years, and have you ever used it? This is a serious question.
Yeah, okay. Cool, so the question is my thoughts on Tinder. I previously have had Tinder on my phone before. There's also, I don't know if anyone has heard of the app Raya. Anyone in the room heard of the app Raya? Okay, it's like super underground. I'm going to enlighten you. It's like a dating app for Instagrammers and celebrities. It's really fun. But I've had Raya as well, which has been a great way to meet people in the industry, and you can also use it for work, not just for dating. So I think apps like that are great if you're down to like meet people and date people, but I'm always a little bit nervous and apprehensive about those situations, so I'd always meet in a public place. But I think, yeah, most of the people I meet is through Instagram. People DMing me saying, hey, you're in my city, I want to show you around. You can usually tell by someone's profile if they're someone that you would normally hang out with on a day-to-day basis. And that's how most of my friends have came about, is through Instagram. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool question though. Is Tinder big here in Montenegro?
No.
Oh.
Not that I know of.
As I was saying that, I was like, what if you didn't even say Tinder and I just started talking about dating apps? Like, I heard that myself.
I don't know. Who knows? We have one question here.
Hi, Brooke. So, can you tell us, in your opinion, what are the top 3 places to visit that people would never think of visiting and why?
Okay, awesome question. I think obviously Pakistan. I mean, I was just talking about it then. I'm hugely passionate about that country, and I'm already planning my trip back there to hike the base camp to K2, something we have in common, hiking. So definitely Pakistan would be like my number 1 at the moment because it's fresh in my mind as well. There's like so many places I'm trying to sift through. Well, would you think of visiting Pakistan? Probably not, yeah. So let me think what else is similar to that. I actually personally love Russia. It's hard for me, it's hard for me to know what you wouldn't think of traveling to because I'm from the other side of the world. So I could tell you like places from over that way that you probably haven't thought about. Whereas the places that I think are really different are probably in Europe. So Russia, I love. I studied Russian world history at university randomly, so I'm a little bit of a geek in that area. Russia, Pakistan, and I love Chile. Have you been hiking in Chile?
No.
In
that's the
Patagonia?
plan. That's
Yeah.
the plan.
That's my favorite place for hiking and like adventure. So they're probably my top 3 picks.
Okay, good. Before.
This is the thing. I tweeted the other day. I was like, how has it taken me 27 years to come to Montenegro? And the only reason, I don't know if I should say this out loud, the only reason I said yes to speaking at this conference was because you sent me the pictures of Montenegro. And I was like, yeah. So I have 2 weeks after, 10 days left after the conference where I'm staying and just, I have no plans. I'm just going to get in a car and kind of drive around and see where I end up and share it with everyone.
That's good. Nice.
Yeah.
We will follow you.
Yeah.
We have one more question there. Misho.
Wow, you got your work cut
Sredini.
out for you. He's in the middle.
Hard to get.
No, actually, I'm quite easy. What was the best country you've ever visited next to Montenegro, and what makes a certain country so good to visit? What attracts you? Is it the nightlife, the landscapes, the people?
Yeah, I love food, so it's usually anywhere with good food, which I could tell you a million places. It's such a hard question because I answer differently every time. Where's your favorite place? It just depends like what mood I'm in or where I've been recently. But I love going to Africa, and especially Southern Africa. So South Africa, Botswana, Zambia, even Tanzania in East Africa, which we were talking about earlier. I really feel a connection with Africa, and I think anyone who goes there and anyone who has been, it really like takes a piece of your heart. So just anywhere where I feel connected to people, I think. And everywhere I've been in Africa, I've felt very connected to people there, and everyone's so warm and welcoming and friendly and eager to show you their culture and their history and their heritage. So I think at the end of the day, like there's all this noise in the travel industry, but people is what makes that connection and what makes you fall in love with a country.
That's great. I think that here you would connect with Vanya. You told somewhere that you really like the sweets, actually. So Brooke has Charlie's Bakery in Tasmania.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an offline business, and it shows actually that you, even though you like to travel, you need to have some kind of roots or home, a feeling of home somewhere.
Yeah, I think, so I started the bakery 3 years ago. I was starting to get a little bit burnt out from travel, and everyone was telling me, you're gonna burn out, like you've just been traveling for so long, you're gonna burn out, you're gonna burn out. And I think because I listened so much to people saying you're gonna burn out, I then burnt out. I don't know if I actually did, but I made that a reality. And so I opened a business, a dessert restaurant, because I've been a vegetarian for 15 years, so desserts are like the one thing that I never get cut out from. So I opened this dessert restaurant 3 years ago, and thinking like that was my escape route, like after I was done traveling, that's what I would do. And I loved the bakery, but also maybe 2 months of being in the one place, started to
too
freak
much.
out. Yeah, started to freak out, and then just went traveling again. So I still have the bakery. I have a really great team of 20 staff that run the bakery.
Good.
So yeah, I've tried to put down roots. I'm just not very good at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Take your time.
I'm a gypsy. Yeah.
And the third company, so
Yeah, so World of Wonderlust, Charlie's Dessert House, and then I have Little White Bridal Boutique, which is super random. No one really knows about it. I don't talk about it online. But it's a bridal store. We sell bridal gowns, which was just, it's funny because I'm not married, but it's just something that I decided to get into because I love building businesses. So yeah, it's another baby of mine. I really want to start a travel agency too, which kind of makes sense.
that probably makes
More than the
sense.
wedding,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. Tell me, we saw today somebody showing the buying Instagram likes, and
Right.
so how many did you buy?
That was funny, hey. In a Russian supermarket too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
crazy. I think that's a huge issue in this industry is, I mean, even like all of there's like these comment clubs and stuff that people talk about. It's really funny, and people DM me about it and be like, hey, like, I'll promote you if you promote me. And that's cool if that's what works for you, but I genuinely don't really care for that side of the industry. Love that I have followers and that lets me travel the world, but I don't know, it's just so weird to me.
Okay. I read somewhere that you're only speaking about relationship and interaction with those people that follow you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, well, the biggest, I think a big problem with Instagram is that everybody counts your success on the number of followers and not actually of how the quality of those.
Yeah, I find that super frustrating, and I spoke out about it last year when I was in Zanzibar. I made a YouTube video called Why I Took a Break from the Internet, and it was exactly that. Like, as a creative, someone who puts a lot of work and time and effort into making photos, and I take most of my photos with a tripod, so there's a lot of time that goes into setting up a tripod and then running into the frame. Now I have like this app that makes that a whole lot easier.
Good.
But there's a lot of time and effort that goes into making like stuff online, so photos and videos and written work. And I made this video, which was just how I was feeling at the time. I was just really kind of pissed off that every single brand that I work with, and I don't work with a lot of brands, I choose to make my money elsewhere in businesses and stuff, and then travel's like my hobby, I guess I would say. But when I do work with brands, the first thing they say is like, great, what was the engagement on that? And I'm like, well, how about like, great photo, looks like you know, you hiked 8 hours to get to the top of that mountain and
But
waited
you have
for the
to
sunset.
understand, as businesses, we need to
I
prove
get that,
why-
but like, tell me it's a great photo and then ask me about the
Aha,
engagement.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's something that really is an issue in this industry, is it is all about numbers, and I do understand that side of it, but quality over quantity is my approach to work,
Of course.
so, yeah.
And last question, where do you see yourself in like 10 years or?
10 years, I'll be 37. I hope I have a dog. That's like my level of commitment to life. At the moment I have plants and my mum waters them when I'm away. But I would love to have a dog. I would one day love to have a family and do all of that. That's the thing, like I'm gonna keep growing and evolving as time goes on, and I think that's an important thing as a blogger too, like not to get stuck in, this is my one thing that I'm blogging about, because I'm a human, I'm multifaceted, I have different interests as well. So maybe I don't think I'll ever be like a mummy blogger, but I'll probably have kids one day.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
so 37,
Nice.
that's the plan.
Okay, I think we're out of time. Yes, we are. This was fast for me.
Sorry?
We're out of time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.